Hi, Zizaran here with another build guide video, and this one is specifically made for the upcoming Gauntlet tournament race event we're doing. If you don't know what the Gauntlet is, it's basically a race with pretty much every damage mod on. You can see here on the right, this is active in every zone, and this is one of the builds, possibly what I'm playing. I'm currently trying to decide if I'm doing Champion, Grand Slam, or this build. Both are extremely strong for different reasons. And I think that this is better than the Bladeblast Chieftain that I have, even though I normally prefer that. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I'm also going to be just doing a Blood Aqueduct run in the background, so you can see a little bit about what this build plays like. It is a you use two abilities, so you use your Bladefall first, and then Blade Blast. And you can see that we also are running an Obliteration. But I want to talk a little bit about why I believe that this build is better than the Champion. Than the Chieftain for an event like this. And that is actually mostly because of the mod you see, where you see the monsters fire 2 additional projectiles. So the problem with something like Champion or Chieftain is that they're sustain tanks, and they can still be very, very good, but especially the regen tank of a Chieftain, it can get one shot very easily when there is that 2 additional projectile for the AoE overlap. And that's very dangerous, whereas the Assassin, it still barely ever gets hit at all, right? And sure, it does get hit, and then it might struggle, but we are going to get a Kintsugi very, very easily by getting Deadly Rivalry 5 from Heist. And then we're using things like Wind Dancer. If you can get a Crab Aspect, that would be really, really good. Ideally, we're going to get close to 75% dodge and evasion. We have elusive and as much elusive effect as we can, so boots there's a replica 3-step assault or something. They give more elusive effect too. And we have Mistwalker for more elusive effect. We're stacking hard on the dodge evasion, and yeah, evade as well, right? With I would love getting a Jade Flask, for example, or an Atziri's Promise instead of the Eternal Mana Flask. Currently struggling on mana. I'm level 85, so obviously I should be doing higher content than Blood Aqueduct. I just wanted to show you guys how the build plays a little bit in the background. The damage on this is absolutely insane. I want to start in all my videos showing how to play the build. So especially for single target, it would look something like this. If you're playing Bladefall Bladeblast and you let it get all of the spikes down, then basically what is happening is you're getting less. I can't remember exactly what the max amount that can be down is, but there is a max amount. However, if I do this, they're already starting to explode, and you might get an additional 8 or 9 blades exploding on the boss while they're still putting more down. So you're actually getting a lot more that way. For clearing, we're using Plaguebearer and then just running through monsters. The way it works is it basically there's a poison buildup, and you basically unleash it like a righteous fire. And that's where Obliteration comes in, that I might not be doing enough damage to actually kill things, but Obliteration helps as well with doing the explosion to take out blues and rares. For watching this video, make sure that you have the Path of Building fork installed. It's !fork, and we'll also be linking it in the YouTube description. The way you start this build is you actually do Toxic Rain Mines. That's a level 12 plus. Early on, you start with Caustic Arrow, and we'll have leveling stuff in the skills like normal. You use Caustic Arrow, that needs Pierce. That's the most important thing, and that can take you very, very far. I actually tried leveling with Orb of Storms, and it was a bit of more of a respec than I wanted to. It was fairly strong, and you can do it, take elemental damage nodes, elite focus and stuff while leveling. It wasn't bad, but there's 10, 15 regrets there that I don't really need. I don't really want them. If you level like this with Caustic Arrow and then Toxic Rain Mines, the playstyle, I don't have a character I can show this with, but the playstyle would basically be dumping one Caustic Arrow and then spamming your Toxic Rain on bosses. And that was actually pretty good. It did a lot of damage, and you really, really benefit from over leveling. It's very big if you're able to, you're not really caring about physical damage or anything on your bow early. You're basically just hoping that you can get a +1 bow gem level bow. And that takes you all the way to 28 to 31. I'd probably recommend switching at 31. Then you're getting efficacy and stuff like that. 38 is actually the biggest change for this build for when it's you 100% want to be Bladefall Bladeblast by then. But you can switch at 31. At 38, you get Unleash, which is huge. I definitely would say it could be worth waiting all the way until 38. Until then, it still benefits very hard from overleveling. But at 38, you see such a huge difference in the build where you're wow, bosses are just dying. They're being murdered. So obviously, early game is always going to be ridiculously hard for the Gauntlet. This build benefits a lot more than most from overleveling because it's a spell build. If you're the type of player you're thinking, you're watching video guides and stuff, and you're a softcore player, you never play hardcore, you don't really like hardcore, but you really want to give it a try for the Gauntlet, overleveling with 10 to 15 levels is actually not a bad idea. It's going to take you a long time, but you'll get there because you get such a big boost from gem levels and skill points and stuff. It'll make it a breeze, basically. Obviously not a breeze because it's still the Gauntlet, but it'll help a large amount. So do think about doing that. Make sure you use Heist to your advantage, and for when you switch to Bladefall Bladeblast, there's nothing more important than you having at least one, but ideally two once with +1 physical skills. It does so much. It does so much for you. So I would 100% recommend that. They're very easy to craft on a level 2 weapon. So +1 physical spell skill gems. As far as Ascendancy nodes, I actually did Noxious Strikes into Toxic Delivery. I wouldn't do that, especially in the Gauntlet. I would be ascending Noxious Strikes first. Then I would be taking Mistwalker. Like, Elusive Effect is so big, and getting the 8% reduced damage while elusive, it helps so much. And especially the no extra damage from critical strikes while elusive. And most of the time on this build, you will be elusive. Then I also, like, very early took no witnesses as well, which I probably will end up using endgame. Not 100% decided yet, but just depends a little bit on like how much other like dodge, like if I'm able to get Atziri step, for example, for a little bit extra like spell dodge there, or like, you know, incursion boots with dodge. The build has so much damage, you don't really need more. Like you should feel like you're just shredding everything, even in the Gauntlet, especially while over leveling. And I do have a video preparing people for the Gauntlet with like what to do in every zone and where to over level and stuff. But yeah, over leveling super important for this build. As for Bandits, you help a Lyra. You do that on pretty much everything in the Gauntlet. You're so desperate for resist. Pantheons, I would be running Solaris and Shakari, most likely. Shakari is really nice for like poison and poison related things. And then Solaris helps a lot for like not getting one shot by slams. It is a dodge based build, so like I said earlier, Wind Dancer, very, very strong. We also want Kintsugi. The way to farm a Kintsugi is going to be to get Deadly Rivalry 5, ideally, to drop from Heist. But if you don't have a level 5 drop, maybe you have a level 3 or level 4, you can do that, and it'll get added. I can actually show you, because I have it on this character. So you can like progress that questline with Navali, and you'll see here it says Deadly Rivalry 4. So I have a chance, when I take new ones, that I will get Deadly Rivalry 5. Obliteration, also like very, very like incredibly easy to farm. Just drops a lot when doing like engineering for uniques. Also drops cards for it and delve. Obliteration, obviously not very good for bosses. So I would recommend something like, let's see, what was the one I was using? I basically had the equivalent of this, but for physical. So just a one with like resist crafted and physical spell skill gems. And that's what I would use for bosses. And then I use this for clearing because of the nice purple explosion. And you see all of my gear is basically just life and resists on everything. I did kill Atziri on this as well. This is a great build to get level 90 on for the Gauntlet as well. Should have a decent amount of life and a shit ton of dodge and evasion. And just generally be very, very strong. Predicting you get to level 99, this could have like 8k life with fairly basic gear. You can get ailment immune fairly easily as well. Some people might be asking about things like Coralito's signature. I feel like it's pretty hard to use, and I'd rather have an Atziri's Promise. Perfect Agony is decent, but it's so hard to justify like unique flasks and stuff. If you want Perfect Agony, that's only like 2 points. And I haven't experimented enough myself with actually taking Perfect Agony and when it's worth it. But I definitely, like, if I'm going to put any unique flask in this, it's probably going to be an Atziri's Promise. The 20% fizz is extra, is like huge to begin with. The leech is great, and the 35 chaos rest is actually huge in this because we're not CI and we are minus 74 chaos rest. So going to minus 38 is actually pretty big. Whereas the build doesn't really suffer from damage. So I don't think I'd be able to justify a Coralito's. I'm not sure. I might experiment with it if I can get one. I don't have Atziri's Promise, and I could get rid of my mana flask easily enough. And for a long time, you are going to be using a mana flask to deal with your mana issues because it can be like pretty intense on mana. So for endgame items, Kintsugi, super important. Really, really like So because of the way like the build works, that you're barely ever going to be hit, and then you want to make sure that when you do get hit, you don't get one shot. So like the less damage from Windasser, less damage from Kintsugi, 20% less evasion here as well, and then you get so much more evasion if you do get hit. And then obviously we are stacking dodge, we're stacking evasion as much as we can. On most other items, we're going to be stacking life as much as we can, because obviously, again, just to like mitigate any sort of a one shot there. One of the biggest stats, like crit multi is not bad, especially when you're perfect agony, but the number one stat that you want for this build is chaos damage over time multiplier. A lot of your damage is poison, especially your single target, and it stacks up really fast because of the way Bladefall and Bladeblast are hitting so much. So really, really good. But chaos damage over time multiplier and plus like gem level, there's a big radius increase at level 21. So if you see my Blade Blast is, let's see. My Blade Blast is only level 19, but if I was able to get this to 20 and I had a +1 gem level scepter or wand or dagger, then getting 21 is a big radius increase that your AoE like further mitigates or like further increases. Another thing that's very, very big for this build is to get a helmet that has Elder on it and then able to get Conc effect. Right now, my Bladefall has Bladefall, Spell Cascade, Unleash, and Faster Casting. Faster Casting is in right now just to like make it a little bit more like, just not like feel as bad while like mapping and clearing. But Conc effect is actually huge there. Conc effect is like very, very big as an extra gem to be able to make the blades fall closer together. And it's only slightly, but it helps a lot. You'll also notice that in the setup I'm currently using on Zizaran Bang Bang, I'm using Ink AoE. The reason for that is because I don't have that like final radius. I think you can, there should be a different like damage support gem we can put in. We'll have that in the guide as well. Ink AoE is really, really big until later. But let's look at the difference. This is without Ink AoE. Look how little overlap there is. And then look with. It is a very noticeable difference. I'm going to flashbang you here with a paint and explain this. I've done this many times on stream. But let's say that this red marker here is the boss, right? And then if your blade blasts are this big, you're going to see that there's going to be a lot more overlap. And you're more likely to do damage to the boss, right? Whereas what's going to end up happening, if your blade blasts are small, then yeah, there might be loads of blade blasts detonating. For example, Conc effect on the blade blast would be like terrible. It'll look really good in Path of Building. You'll be like, it'll be showing you, you'll get this sick, hot, amazing DPS, but so many of them are going to be like far out here. Whereas if they had like the big AoE, they would be overlapping. So don't just care about POB damage. It's also about like accessibility of your damage. And you can see that it makes a very, very big difference here. Aura-wise, I am running Skitterbots, Flesh and Stone, and Herald of Agony. Skitterbots, if you don't know why we're using them, they're shocking our enemies, making them take more damage. It's also slowing them, which is really, really good. Very important. And we're using Flesh and Stone. Flesh and Stone is a very, very big, only defensive purpose. Everything inside this radius is blinded. And then 11% less damage from attacks from enemies that aren't nearby, which is outside the radius, basically. Herald of Agony as well, like poison chance, which I don't think we need, but 10% more poison damage. And Herald of Agony is great. I would love to try to get the aspect of the crab to get fit in, because the way it works is that the aspect of the crab gives you up to 20% physical damage mitigation, and then when you get hit, you take 20% less damage from the hit, but you lose all the aspect or the crab barriers. And that's really good for a build like this that is barely ever getting hit, because you are just like running around. Flasks as well, very, very important. Course Flask, huge. You want to have this all the time. For being able to run through monsters is huge, but also the 10% dodge. Getting this to like be Alchemist so that it gets increased effect is actually pretty good if you're clearing fast enough to have the uptime up. Granite, so that small hits that do go through aren't just like creaming you. Bastil's not a bad idea as well. Jade as well, instead, like it's a very hard choice, but I would make sure you have at least either a Jade, a Granite, or a Bastil. They're all justifiable in their own way. I really like Granite, just so you're not getting murked by small hits. But yeah. And then obviously like Life Flask, Quicksilver, and later on when you can drop it, a Diamond Flask would be great. Atziri's Promise is great as well. So you have some options there, and not everybody's going to want to do Atziri in the Gauntlet. I hope this guide helps you in the Gauntlet. Just wanted to make sure I like slapped something together for the people that aren't 100% sure what to do, and I knew I didn't have a guide up for this, so I wanted to try to make a video really quick before the Gauntlet comes out, and hopefully it helps some of you. Hope the guide helps. If you like the content, please subscribe. Thanks for watching, and try to die less than I do.